This was a day that I originally planned on doing some painting. The weather did not cooperate. It rained all day. I expected delivery. This is the third day. I'm waiting for parts from Amazon, magnets to come for my parts. So I basically had to revamp the whole day and juggle a schedule around. But I did manage to get some of the plastic MT09 parts sanded, prepped, and in prime. And I redid my whole priority list here because it doesn't look like Amazon is cooperating the way they have in the past. Maybe my parts disappeared. I don't know. I'm still waiting. Now, I always think part of the fun of doing motorcycle restorations is there's never two the same. Every one of these is totally different. I've tried to sequence every one of them. I've always made out lists of do this first, second, third, try to make it efficient. And you always tear up the list and flip it over, and the weather changes and family things change and who knows what. But today is no exception. So let me explain what happened. I had a week ago, maybe even a little more than a week ago, I ordered some magnets, those really strong magnets, not refrigerator magnets, and I thought, well, I could attach these pieces that I've made. I've already painted them, buffed them out and everything on previous video. I thought I wanted to try and see if that worked. Well, it works in model planes. They hold the cowlings on and different things. And those magnets are really powerful. But I don't know if it's going to work either. But you don't learn anything unless you're willing to test something new or try something new. Then you wind up, you just don't learn anything. So Amazon has been dead reliable in most of the time up until today. Not today. 3 days ago, Karen got a thing on her list that these parts would be delayed 1 day. Then the next day they said they'll be here at 7 o'clock at night, between 6 and 7:30. And today, last night, I even recorded it when I went to bed at midnight. They said it's going to be on your porch before 9 o'clock at night. I still have no magnets, so what I have to do is just juggle everything up. But Karen's got a bunch of errands to do, so we're going to take care of that while we're, hopefully maybe the magnets will come. If they don't, I've got to tear up the list again and start all over again. This is really the night before. We got a note on Karen's phone that the Amazon guy was going to be here with my magnets before 9 o'clock at night. Well, I don't know. He's not here yet, and it's after 10:30, so what a hell of a way to start the day. See, in our part of the country, there's roughly a 9-month season you can ride comfortably and reasonably if you have gear. And then there's a 3-month. You never know what 3 months it is. Sometimes it's early, sometimes it's late. One year it started at Halloween. When the roads get snowed in, or it gets like it was 20 degrees yesterday, or something totally. Today it's pouring rain out there all day. So I always try to stay flexible, but my sequencing gets thrown off. Now, the original plan with the MT09, I wanted to do all the little detail stuff, waiting for it that we get snowed in. And once we get snowed in, and now I know I've got real long shop days, not going shopping every day, things like that, then I'd pull the wheels apart because I know the wheels are the most labor-intensive thing. But the way the thing played, I didn't count on that Craig's visit would be so good. That's over with now. And I've got 4 or 5 other little things I want to do here. So having all these loose ends, it's difficult. I call it sequencing, but the good thing is every time I do a bike, I think I get a little bit better. I don't know. You figure that out. Now it's raining out there. It's supposed to rain all day, so that means we're not going to be able to paint. If I did have the magnets, I'd be comfortably in here with an electric heater. I could get that done, but again, I have to, and Karen wants to take care of errands early, so it's going to be pretty easy to figure the rest of this day out. But the bottom line is, and one of the reasons I do enjoy the restorations over the winter, it is certainly always an adventure. It's never the same twice. Never had any of these motorcycle projects go without a hitch, and today we have a little hitch to work around. And if the magnets come, we'll be in Fat City. I'll have a day of work fitting the magnets and doing those final parts and all the epoxying around it. But in the meantime, time for errands. Here's something we got to work around today too. Is it going to be warm enough to paint? And the good news is we never have 2 days the same here on the farm. Now, when my late friend moved to Florida, one thing I remember him saying, I said, what are you moving to Florida for? He said, you don't have to shovel rain. So appropriate. And how much fun can this day be? Oh, we definitely not getting any painting done today. And the ultimate insult, Amazon is building right in the town next to us a giant warehouse. We went by it the other day. The thing is the size of Giant Stadium. This is the last house with Christmas decorations that I've seen anyway. We had a wonderful Christmas and a wonderful visit with Craig. I shouldn't complain. And it might be the last tree that has any leaves. I remember riding not that long ago. Beautiful leaves everywhere. Now there's nothing. That's funny, as I'm pulling into the driveway, there's still 1 or 2 roses on Karen's rose bush. Anyway, let's see. We just have to reorient the whole day. Punt the football, whatever. So, Karen, what's the latest notice from Amazon? Are we ever going to get this package?
Hopefully.
Hopefully, before the third day. What am I talking about? So just like I did last night, Amazon has it on the phone that it's going to be here by noontime. I don't see, by the way, I don't see anything here. Oh man, Amazon, you really let me down here. So these parts that we made and buffed out yesterday, to buff out, there was and I learned something I think is useful information to me. I force dried these for 4 hours when they were still sticky and tacky and you could put your fingerprint in it. And that seemed to work okay, and I have, to be honest, I've never done that. I don't like, from the old days of painting lacquer and acrylic lacquer and enamel, I never liked to force dry things. But that did work, and they buffed out fine. But I have some other really useful information to share here. I think, and let me just explain. I wanted to attach these pieces with the magnets. That was an experimental thing. I wanted to find some other adhesive way of doing it with, and I thought a perfect thing would be the things you put on the bottom of chairs that have that fuzzy edge on one side, and then the glue that you never can get off on the other side. So I was thinking of other things, but I thought another thing, I can take the 2 radiator covers off the bike. Those are parts due to be painted further into the restoration. If we don't get those parts in the next day or so, I'll start that and prep them up. But here's the really good tip. I wasn't sure how they come off. You can only see 2 screws. And I'm thinking, how can I be holding that on with 2 screws? So when I can't figure out exactly how to take something off, there's a couple of choices. Number one, you can always look on YouTube and type in how to take off the gas tank or the seat or something. That's good too, but you can always do it with Partzilla too. You go to the SKU and look up and you can see where the screws are that go in the part. And I'm going to go to the thing right now and see if there's any other attaching parts. And this is what I do when I'm taking apart something I've never had apart before. And in our case, we want to go to Yamaha, for Yamaha parts. We want to type in motorcycle 2020. Come on, Partzilla, you can do it. And then we want to put MT09. Now, in our case, it doesn't matter. We're not looking for some specific thing. It's a generic part. And what we want to do, I wanted to share this radiator hose. And that's going to come up. Now, you'll always, if you're not familiar with a SKU, over here are the parts that you can, I know this is not real clear on the screen, but these are, if you want to buy these parts, the price and stuff. Now, and over here is what's called a SKU. So if you go in, you can fade in, fade out with the mouse. And in this case, we can, if you want to chat now, you can call the guys up, and by the way, they are pretty good. So I'm going in, and there's the part right there, and I can see there's 2 screws in the back. I'm not sure I'm getting this, but I wanted to share this information, and 2 little clips, so I know once I get those screws out, I can pick this either up or down. And this is, Yamaha usually does this. The R1 is like this. Everything has a clip, and you have to get all these little tabs lined up and then put the screws in. So it looks like those covers are held in with 2 screws. So if those parts don't come by after lunchtime, what I'm going to do is just go take these out and get them sanded down and prepped. That'll be a good day's work. I don't like to, see, the thing is, I don't like to waste a day. Anyway, that's how you can find things real easy. I'm not sure it comes out real well, and especially if you're using a phone. I like to look at this stuff on a big screen TV a lot better. And just for reference, Partzilla is really, really reliable. You can call them up. The people you talk to know about motorcycle parts. They've been very helpful to me. And I even buy the oil filters from them now. I just don't want to fool around having off-brand anything. I like to get genuine Yamaha and Suzuki oil filters. But anyway, I thought that was information. Some people are not familiar with a skew or how to look it up with a computer. I'm not so sure I'm good at sharing it, but I tried one way or another. But that is a good source of finding out things before you go and rip a bike apart. And if you don't know that last little screw is there and you pull it apart and break the tab, oy, oy, oy. Now again, I'm not sure this is the way it that you can see this is clear, but I've gone into, with Google, searched for YouTube, just gone onto the generic YouTube channel, put my name in quotation marks, and other people have told me you can put Windy U in there instead of Windy Ortnowski. I haven't done that. I always put my whole name. And do the topic. Now the topic might be MT09, carbon fiber, paint, whatever it is. And when you key on it, if you go down, and this is what comes up, is how to make carbon fiber, carbon fiber windshield, carbon fiber brackets, carbon fiber fuel tank mount, how to do a carbon fiber repair, fixing fairings. There's no end to it. Way over. This is when we only had 1,800 videos. I think there's 2,400 now. But anyway, there is a wealth of information out there that I've even forgotten about. And just as an example, this one has 24,000 views. This one is 35,000. These are videos that people really, really have an intense interest in. The carbon fiber ones, and there's so many of them, and a lot of them are really, really good. So I wanted to share that, and I know the screen is foggy and everything, but because I didn't know that until not long ago, that you right from YouTube, and I think other people have told me that there's other ways to do it, but that works every time. Now, if I were to take that out, carbon fiber, and put FZR, up would come the 900-hour restorations. So I hope that's useful information that we can use on this crappy rainy day waiting for Amazon. And of course, the best thing of all is on a cold and rainy day, and a big cup of coffee at my side, I can relive some of these rides we went to. This is when the bike was a Ferrari bike. Oh, I love having all this stuff out on the channel. And a lot of people don't know you can do this. And I know when I've tried to look at this on my phone, you can see it, but boy, when you look at it on a wide screen, I have I think a 37-inch monitor. Wow, and here we were using the tail camera, and it's just a lot of fun. A lot of good information out on the channel. I hope you've taken advantage of it, and that you can share it with your friends and learn something, and who knows? You never know where life is taking you. Now, I hope that Partzilla information is useful. Now, there's a lot of things, and these little parts, I just want to make an example. These little parts, when you go to take them off, there's one screw, you go to take them off, they don't come off, and you'd be tempted to, if you're a little heavy-handed, just pull them off. You got to kind of jiggle, and if you look, there's little clips on top, clips on bottom, and you get them all lined up, and one screw holds it on. Well, when I looked at these pieces, my initial first thought was, okay, there's two screws in the back, we can all see that, but I don't know if they're going to just jump right off or not. Yeah, so, and if you start forcing them and you can't see there's a screw in the back or something, it's always good to look at that skew on the Partzilla. That is such useful information. All right, so what I'm going to do, because I'm waiting for Amazon still, I'm going to take these two screws out. Probably the blinkers will come off or something, but I'll take the two parts down and get them prepped up. The idea is if we get a next sunny day, they'll be all prepped and primed and ready for the blue. And then that'll be one more step ahead. And we're still working on this logo. I still haven't exactly figured out exactly what I want to do or the sizing, but that's coming. One is always get the bike up on a stand so it's standing straight up and down, easy to work on it. That Partzilla thing can really save you from damaging bodywork, especially on bikes that have complex bodywork like the R1. It's priceless to be able to just see where all the tabs are. And you can zoom in with the mouse. Really, really a handy thing. Now once I get the screws out, if this is a typical Yamaha, first time I've had it apart, usually you have to do a little finagling, pushing back and forth, up and down. There we go, get it off. And just as they said, there's two little tabs in there that hold these on, but they're plastic and we'll be ready to prep these up. And this is not, this is not a, it's a plastic part, so it's going to be, we have to seal it with primer sealer before we can paint it. Now, this is really useful information. You see the little tabs on here? See, if you didn't know there were little tabs, and you would think, oh, that part is stuck, and you just force it. But once you line this tab up and it snaps in, and there's a little tab up here, and that's how Yamaha does a lot of their body work. Maybe all bikes are like that. And then once they snap in, the two screws go in and locks that right in place. And because it's plastic, it's easy to damage. These are really delicate. So, and you can't imagine how many I've fixed on Bomotas and on high-end bikes that you think, wow, they would never do that. They always make these way too delicate. Even Yamaha, they're way too delicate. And as time goes by, the plastic gets brittle and they snap, and then you come to Windy for a carbon fiber fix. And as I've said a million times, part of the objective of even making a channel that I have, I want to share useful information. And many people have been very generous sharing the information with me, especially Luciano, that they've saved me and helped me. That I feel like it's part of my obligation to pass that on. And John Pothia, the information he's helped me with. Now, once you know those tabs are there, it comes right off, and you're not prone to strip it or break it. But now, oh, the blinkers stay on there. That's pretty handy anyway. Everything stays intact. These come right off. I'll get these sanded and prepped and primed, but there'll be no, I don't think there'll be any painting today. Now, the painting of these parts should be pretty straightforward, but again, we don't have the weather today that's even appropriate. Maybe we can get them primed in the back room, but getting them prepped, and as soon as we get a sunny day, it'll be very nice to be able to paint them. So here's the issue. In the very beginning, what we did is we took a picture of the motorcycle. John did it out on his Photoshop thing and made these shiny black, silver, blue, various colors, just like we did with the wheels. So I could see what it looked like. I kind of like the way it looks blue. But here's the problem. I don't know if I'm going to love it blue. Once I put it out in the driveway, look at it from 10 different angles, but I can always just repaint it shiny black. I can always paint it flat black the way it is. The good thing of what I'm saying is the good thing about all paint. You're not married to it. You can always strip it off and put new paint on. And when I did the 650 restoration, my original concept, I still have the drawing, I wanted to paint a gold stripe right down the middle of the motorcycle. I've always liked that look, but as I say that, I'm looking, I've always thought that made a, here, look at this, the evidence is, even the yellow bike, the evidence is not in my favor that I don't like a stripe down the middle of the bike. But when I started putting the concepts of what I did, the stripe went through here, it didn't fit here. I wanted to make that part out of carbon fiber, so I abandoned the whole stripe thing. And then we worked on all these arrows, and I bet there was 100 concept drawings, and you can go back and look on the channel. And then the final thing is to mix the gold paint from pigment. Thomas Luciano cut this on a computer, and John did all the layout of the lettering. And in the end, I was real happy with it, and hopefully I will enjoy that for the rest of my life, since I don't buy or sell bikes. I don't know why I always have liked the look of the bike with the stripe right down the middle. It's kind of a classic, maybe it's a British look, I don't even know. But I have enjoyed laying these things out, but I always leave the door open to changing my mind. And one of the things on this bike, when I painted it, I made those little pieces in the back green, and the bike just looked too green. It just didn't look right to me. And when I painted them gloss black, I liked it a lot better. So there's always, with paint, you always have the option to change it. That's why when Dennis mixed up the Yama yellow, I made sure I got plenty of extra paint. And as it turned out, the first day I rode the bike, I crashed it.
and had to repair half of the bike. That extra paint came in very handy. So I wanted to share some of the things I think about when I'm planning a restoration, and when I start doing it, somehow it always takes on a life of its own and I wind up changing a lot of stuff that were in the original plan. And as today is playing out, somehow Amazon has helped me change the plan even more. Always have to stay flexible with these restorations. Now Karen has been checking on the website. They said it's going to be here by between 5 and 7 tonight. I don't know if I'm going to hold my breath or not. So we're back down the shop. I want to prep these parts up and maybe get them in primer today, but this Amazon thing is making me crazy. Anyway, we had such good success with the wheel. I'm so happy about that. That's one of the things, and the day that, like a day like today with having a little setback, no big deal. Now, in an attempt to pass on useful information, step one. I originally thought this was going to be a bigger problem than it is. The parts are pretty nicely prepped. Here's the issue that to me is something I have to deal with. The parts are plastic. They're shiny, of course. And they have been painted with flat black paint. So the choice is now, and there's no win, lose, or anything. It's just what I want to do, is I want to scuff this surface with 400 grit. I don't want to go down through into raw plastic. If there's more of a chance we're going to have a problem with the paint and fish eyes and everything if I get down into the plastic. So the trick, as always, is, and there's no exceptions to this is simple green. Crud Cutter works good, and anything that's a degreasing agent. So and I even do the back because I don't want to get this on my fingerprints. This part, of course, has road grime, a year of road grime and wax and dirt and grease, and from working on oil changes, you touch things, and it's always a good idea. The more times you can scrub it, the better. I like to scrub it 2 or 3 times. In this case, I'll take it out to some hot water. Once I get this degreased to where I'm happy with it, because nothing is going to be more frustrating than when this is all done and buffed out and back on a motorcycle, and you hit you look at it and you hit a stone chip and the whole big chunk falls off. I want to get that good bond, that the paint sandwich, and the most important part of the paint sandwich is getting the first coat of sealer primer to stick to this finish. And again, I don't know what finish this is. It's Japanese paint, of course, or maybe Chinese paint, who knows? You never know. But if you do this and you start with, before you ever sand it, clean it. The cleaning is way more important than you think it is. If you just start sanding and you have wax on here and you grind that wax down, then you almost always have a fisheye problem. And some other useful information, and I know this from many years of doing this. When the Honda 750 first came out, that was in the prime of me painting motorcycles. I was doing 1 a week, maybe 2 a week, I don't remember. And it was just the heyday of painting plastic parts. And if you painted them with lacquer, with high penetrating thinner, they almost always melted. And the primers of the day were just as bad. Some of them didn't stick. And I just remember all kind of scenarios that didn't work out well for me. But over the years, there's epoxy primer that's real good. Of course, a lot more expensive, but I've had really good luck with both the Duplicolor and Rust-Oleum, the primer sealer. Anytime I'm going to try to paint something plastic and scuff it and etch it, there's a routine that works for me. There's probably better routines. There's other routines, but this routine works for me every time. The best degreaser I've ever used, and you can't buy it anymore in New Jersey or California, I know that, is Sikkens M600. That is such a great degreaser. This is stuff I have probably for 20 years, because we used to use this by the gallon in modeling. And now it's because the EPA or somebody decided that this causes mice to have 2 heads or something. I don't know. But anyway, maybe it causes me to have 2 heads. Anyway, we don't have access to it anymore. John Pothier again has found it, and I think in Michigan, but it's $80, $90 a gallon. It's crazy in price here. So what I do with this, put it on, let it soak. After I've cleaned with the Sikkens, then the next thing is going to be, we'll get some 400 grit paper and just put a scuff on this. This is a very important to get this part of the paint to stick. And anybody that's ever had a problem with paint sticking knows how frustrating it is. When you basically have to go back to square one. Okay, the parts are cleaned, they're degreased, and they're ready for sanding. Then the 400 sandpaper should put enough of an etch or a scratch in it that the primer will get a good tooth, but I'm looking not to go down into the raw plastic, and I do want to radius all the edges. There's some sharp edges on that plastic that keeps the paint. When you have a sharp razor edge, that's where paint, as it dries out, starts to crack, and then you get a chip right at the edge. So this, by radiusing the front of the part a little bit, just a little bit, you kind of stack the deck in your favor. All right, so those edges are like razor blades. Just the way the plastic is coming out of the mold, I guess. And I'd be willing to bet this has the thinnest coat of flat black paint you could put on. It's probably 1 molecule thick, because I just touched that and I can see the shiny plastic coming through. But that'll be enough. Actually, that will be fine. But the rest of it, I just want to make sure it's a scratched, etched surface, not a smooth, shiny, greasy surface. Prepping these parts is so important, and it's always the step everybody thinks, oh, it won't really matter, I could skip that step. This is the most important part of any paint work. Okay, the objective is to, of course, have a good etch, and it's hard to tell with flat black paint, but with shiny paint, at this point we want no shiny surfaces. Now, if you look real close, I'm done sanding these. You can see I've gone through this 1 molecule finish of flat black, but I really didn't want to go through. If I do go through on the edges, it's not a big deal. That I was trying to avoid, but I guess it's the army we gotta go to war with now. Now I gotta make a jig to hold these parts, or some kind of handle. A piece of scrap balsa wood always seems to make a good handle. Attached with hot glue, it's a good way to paint the part. Now what I wanted to do is take these parts and make some kind of I took a piece of old balsa wood that I just happen to have, and hot glue gun. Let's see if this is going to be, I want to make the equivalent of a handle, something I can hold it by, and when I'm all done I'll just break it off and get rid of it. And usually that's plenty good. We'll just let that dry. And this way I don't have to hold it in my hand and balance it, and it's just a convenient way of doing it. I can even hold it in a vise or vice grips or something to hold it straight up and down any place I want. If I were holding it here and trying to paint it, this makes it very convenient. That'll definitely make it easier to handle the parts and to put them aside to dry. Now the key thing when priming any plastic part is that the primer, whether it's Duplicolor or Rust-Oleum or some other brand, primer sealer. I want to get 2 coats on. I've got to do it in the back room here because it's still raining outside and drizzling and drooling and everything. But I will, if I can get these 2 parts on, two coats on, and get it up by a heating vent overnight, that'll help. That'll get me primed up for the first day, literally primed up for the first day that it'll be paintable, and who knows when that's going to be. Now, some really good information, and that's what we try to share on this channel. When I'm going to paint a part that I'm not going to sand, in other words, I'm going to put the primer on and not sand it, I'm just going to go next paintable day, get the blue on, well, I want to use a brand new can, because what happens, that spray tip, as the can gets older and older and older, it seems like it spits and burps and everything. I want that to just lay on a perfect coat. So the 2 things, shake, shake, shake. Even when you think it's done, keep shaking it and get 2 coats on, and maybe 20 minutes apart. And let it dry overnight is always, that's the old school way of doing it anyway. But if you can force dry it by a heating vent, probably you can do it in 10 minutes. I don't know. But anytime I can prime it and get that done and let it sit overnight, I always think that's a good indication, because then if I don't have any fish eyes in that primer, I'm really in good shape then. Now, even though I did have to paint by the back door here, it's not my first choice, of course, but did not want to take the chance of getting some raindrops in the paint. I wanted this to be a nice clean layout of the primer sprayed with a new can, so that what will happen is the next time we get a paintable day, and it's going to be able to do that, I hope, tomorrow, we'll be ready to go. You know, it looks like that's going to be just about as nice as could be. And then I'll let that dry overnight. And the main thing, I don't have any indication of where that spot I sanded through is, so obviously this primer is doing a good job of sealing the plastic. So Amazon, they keep you up to date as to where your package is. I think it's in Uzbekistan now. But it certainly didn't get here today, and we're ready to end this day. Well, at least the parts are drying up under a heating vent now, but oh my God, was it disappointing. Amazon, this is the third, I think it's the third day. Boy, they are terrible. This is the first time, to be fair, the first time they've really disappointed me. So anyway, this day did not play out exactly the way we thought, but we now have these parts in prime, which I didn't expect to do until my magnets are here. Wherever those magnets are, who knows, there's some Amazon driver eating magnets now. I don't know. It was a pretty nice day. I did get to talk to Dale's friend John in Virginia for a while. We're going to do an upcoming project for him in the winter. We kind of laid it out, and so having this in the bank is a big thing. So it's supposed to be decent enough tomorrow to paint. It's still raining out there now, drizzling. I'm not going to rush it. And that's one of the best tips you can ever give somebody new to painting. Never rush it. You never win that battle. So this day ended with our parts in prime under a heating vent, and with a weather report for tomorrow being maybe 80% chance of a paintable day. Our magnets in Uzbekistan, or Kazakhstan, or Jazikistan, there somewhere. I don't know where, but I spent the evening after editing dreaming about summer rides and looking at pictures of the FZR and thinking about these rides when I have the MT09 all updated and polished up and everything. Anyway, I hope there was some useful information. If this is the first time you've ever watched a Windy video, please share it with your friends. We try to share useful information, stuff that you can really use, not the pie in the sky stuff. And if you order stuff from Amazon, the best thing is order it a few days early. And Amazon, we'll see you tomorrow. I hope those magnets are here.